Hey everyone, Kevin here. Today, I want to show you how you can use Camtasia 2021. This is the latest version of the software that just recently came out. So what is Camtasia? Well, it's a very easy to use screen recorder and also video editing program. And it's especially well suited for things like training videos, tutorials, walkthroughs, demos. So why is it so good for those? Well, it makes it really easy to annotate your screen, to highlight your mouse cursor, or even to zoom in and out on your screen. Basically, you just need to focus on the message that you want to communicate, and Camtasia takes care of the heavy lifting of pulling together the video. Today, I'm going to pull together a training video for the Kevin Cookie Company. Everyone tells me they don't know how to order cookies from the Kevin Cookie Company, so I figured a video could help with that. First, I'm going to record my screen, and then I'll edit my video, and then I'll produce it at the end and share it out. All right, let's jump on the PC and let's get started. To get Camtasia, head to the website TechSmith.com. TechSmith happens to be the company that makes Camtasia. Once you land on the home page, up on the top navigation, hover over the option that says Products. And within Products, right in the center, you'll see Camtasia. It works on both Windows and on Mac. Let's click on this. This drops us on the Camtasia landing page. And right here, if you just want to test out Camtasia and see how you like this editing program, right here you can download a free trial. This will give you 30 days to test things out. Let's say you've decided that, no, I want to go ahead and get Camtasia right now. Right in the top right-hand corner, you can click on Buy Now. When you click on Buy Now, you can purchase Camtasia for $250. This is a one-time fee that'll give you a license in perpetuity to use that version of Camtasia. If you also want to get updates over the course of the next year, there's also a $50 annual fee. This will give you the next version of Camtasia as well. If you're interested and you want to get Camtasia, I've included a discount code in the description of this video that'll give you 10% off. So it'll make it a little more affordable. There's no kickback for me. This is not a sponsored video, so there's no benefit at all for this channel. But just if you want to save a little bit of money when getting Camtasia, I'd recommend using that. Go ahead and decide whether you want the trial or if you want to buy it, and then let's download and install Camtasia. Once you finish downloading and installing Camtasia, launch the application. This will drop us on the Get Started screen for Camtasia, and right here we have a few different options that we can choose from. We can start a blank new project. You could also start new from a template. So what does a template do? Well, they'll have things like a pre-created intro, an outro, and then you could customize those to your liking. It makes it a little bit easier to get your project started. Over to the right, you can also start with a screen recording, and once you finish your screen recording, it'll bring you to the editor. And in a moment, we're going to go down this path. Over on the right-hand side, you can also open an existing project, and down below, you can see recent projects. Also, over on the left-hand side, you have a whole bunch of learning content to get you up to speed on how to use Camtasia. But after all, that's what this video today is doing, so you should know how to use Camtasia by the end of this. Also over on the left-hand side, you have access to a whole bunch of help content. Let's click on the one that says Get Started, and let's jump into a new screen recording. I want to create a tutorial video for how you can order cookies from the Kevin Cookie Company. Let's click on this. This now brings me to my desktop, and here I see the Camtasia screen recorder, and it's pretty intuitive how to use, but let's walk through what all you can do here. Over on the left-hand side, I can see what I'm going to record. And right now, I just see my desktop. I can click on this drop-down list, and here I could select to record my entire screen. If you have multiple monitors connected, you could also choose which monitor you want to record. Down below, I could also choose a custom region. Here you see this green bounding box. I could adjust the size of this to record just the area of the screen that I want. Here, I could also select from predefined dimensions for my recording. I'm going to select this 1920 by 1080p. So I'm going to record just this area within the green box, and I'll position my browser window within this area. I've positioned my browser window within the green box. So that's the area of the screen that I'm going to record. Right to the right of that, I also see a picture of myself. So this is my webcam. I could click on this drop down and I could switch to another camera if I have other cameras hooked up to my computer. If, let's say, I didn't want to include my video, here I could toggle it off and that would turn off the camera. Here I'll toggle it back on and hey, I'm now back. To the right of that, I can also see my microphone and I could also see the audio levels. You could turn it up, you could turn it down if, let's say, it's too loud. And over here, I could select the microphone that I want to use. I have my microphone selected, so I'm good with that. Now, all the way over on the right-hand side right here, you can also turn your system audio on or off. So let's say you have music playing in the background, or maybe you open up an application and there's a ding sound. Those are all system sounds and they'll all be captured if you leave that on. Now, once you're ready to screen record, simply come over here and click on the record button. I'm going to move my capture window down, so I'm just going to record this area up above. I've now clicked on recording and the recording is now active. I don't know why people have so much trouble ordering cookies at the Kevin Cookie Company. It's actually a pretty straightforward process. All right, well, I should probably pull together this video now. To order cookies from the Kevin Cookie Company, head to the website kevincookiecompany.com. Once you land on the homepage and before you click to order cookies, one thing I recommend doing is scroll down the page and you'll see photos of some of the many different types of cookies you can order. Also, as an aside, when you look at these pictures, we've also found that you end up ordering more cookies after looking at these. Once you're ready to order your cookies, go to the very top of the page and you won't miss it. There's this big red bar that says order now. Let's click on that. This opens up an order form that you can fill out to order cookies. Right here, you can enter in your name. You can type in the cookie type you want to order and also the quantity. Hopefully this box is big enough to fit the number of cookies that you want to order. You could choose your preferred delivery method. We support pigeon delivery, pneumatic tubes, as well as drone delivery, your choice. You could also put down a desired delivery date. Don't put down tomorrow. That's going to stress out the kitchen staff. You could also indicate how you heard about us. Please put down the Kevin Stratvert YouTube channel. This way my manager continues funding these tutorial videos. And down below, sign your name to agree with these terms. Now, I'm assuming you know how to submit the form, so I won't cover that in this video. Now I'm going to stop the recording. Once you click on stop recording, this will now open up Camtasia where we can edit our screen recording. This now drops me into Camtasia and there's a lot going on here. So first off, I want to orient you to the experience. Over on the left-hand side in this area, we have access to all of our different tools. And by default, we drop in the one called Media. This is the Media bin. When I hover over this, you'll also see there's a shortcut key associated with it. I could press the B key and that'll automatically open up the Media bin. Each one of these different tools also has a shortcut key associated with it to navigate back to that section easily. I'm going to start in the one called Media Bin. Within the Media Bin, I can see the screen recording that I just pulled together. This is one way to get media into Camtasia. However, it's easy to get even more in. This is where I could see images, video files, sound files. To bring in more media, I can right click here and then I can import media. I could also press Ctrl-I as the shortcut key. Down below, I can also press on the plus icon as another way to get media in here. Now, my preferred method is to simply drag and drop content in. Here I have File Explorer open with 3 additional files that I want to pull in. Here I could simply click on them and I'll drag and drop them in. Here you'll see that I have one of each type. Currently it's sorted by type, so I see my screen recording, I see a video file, an image file, and also an audio file. I can change the sort order to anything else. Right up above, currently it's sorted by type, but I could change it to name, duration, and many other sort orders. Here you could go ascending or descending, and down in the bottom right-hand corner, I can also visualize this differently. Maybe I want a bigger thumbnail, or maybe I prefer this look right here, but you could experiment with this to see what look you like the best. In the center of the screen, I can see the canvas, and this is where I can preview how my video is coming together. Along with previewing my video, I can also manipulate items here. Here, for instance, I see the video of myself as I was narrating this screen recording. I can take this video and I could reposition it. If I click in the corner, I could also expand the size of it. And right now, when you look at this video, there's a lot of excess space on the left-hand side and also on the right-hand side. I can click on the crop tool up here and I could tighten it up a little bit so it's a little bit more focused on my face. Here I'll go back and select the selection tool again, and I can now reposition this video back in the bottom right-hand corner, and maybe I'll make it just a little bit smaller. Up on top, I can also adjust the zoom level of the canvas. So maybe I want to zoom out and see more of a bird's eye view, or I could zoom in really close if I need to see the details. When I'm really zoomed in, I could select the pan tool, and here I could pan around and I could look at all of the details here. I'm going to change this back to fit, and I'll select the selection tool. Also, within the zoom menu down here, there's the option to detach the canvas. When I click on this, this pops it out. If you have multiple monitors, this is especially helpful. You can put your canvas on a separate screen, and then you can have the media bin, your timeline, on another monitor. So it makes it a little bit easier working on your project. I want to move this back in, so I'll click on reattach canvas. Back up in the menu, there's also the option for project settings. And when I click on this, we can configure all of the settings related to this project. Now, I want to create a 1920 by 1080p video, so I'm going to select these as the canvas dimensions. In general, depending on the format that you want to output your video in, I recommend setting your project settings to match that. Right here, you can also select a color background, and currently it's set to black, and I'm okay with that. Down below, you can also set the frame rate for your video. So let's say you're maybe recording a video or some gameplay. You probably want it to look a little bit smoother, in which case you want more frames making up your video. For the typical screen recording like I did, there's really no need for more than 30 frames per second, so I'll leave it set to this. I won't have quite as many frames, but that's fine in this scenario. And down below, you could also auto-normalize loudness. So let's say you have multiple people talking on the video, or maybe you have multiple clips. It'll set them up or normalize them so the loudness is similar across all of those different clips. This all looks good, so I'll click on apply. For the background color, here if I select my screen recording and move it over, let's say I were to make this image smaller. Here you can see the background color is black. So once again, I could have chosen whatever color I want for this background. For now, I'm going to undo this by pressing Ctrl Z, and this way my screen recording uses up the full real estate. Over on the far right-hand side, you'll see a section called Properties, and for any one of your items on the screen, you can also adjust the properties. Here, for instance, if I click my image, here I could adjust the scale. Here I could reduce the scale. I could set the rotation, the position. Every single item that you insert will have some properties associated with it. At the very bottom of the screen, you'll see the timeline, and this is where we can organize our project. Basically, this is where you pull together your story and the flow of your story. This is where we can also go through and make edits to any of the clips that we place here. Right now, there's already a file here, and I really didn't have to do anything to get this file here. Because I went through the flow of starting with the screen recording, it automatically inserted it for me. Now, if you don't have anything here, maybe you started with a blank project, you can go up to your media bin, you can select an item, and you can simply drag and drop it down onto your timeline, and that'll place it on the timeline. Alternatively, you can also select a file in your media bin, you can right click, and then you can add it to the timeline at the playhead. So what is the playhead? Well, it's this item right here. That's the playhead, and it'll insert it directly at this point. Within the timeline, you'll currently see that I have two different tracks here, track 1 and track 2. The image of myself is currently the topmost layer, and the screen recording is track 1, and that's the bottommost layer. So here, let's say I were to switch the order of these tracks. So now my video is the bottommost layer. The screen recording sits over me, so I no longer see myself. Now, I don't want that, so I'm going to switch the order, but you could very simply click on one of these tracks, and then you can switch the order in which they appear. As you start adding in more and more tracks, it might be helpful to know what the different tracks are. And right now, it just refers to track 1 and track 2. You can right click on this, and then you could rename a track. Here, for instance, I'll click on rename, and maybe I'll just call this Kevin Talking. To add additional tracks, it's as simple as going up and selecting an item, and then I could drag it onto the timeline. This will automatically create a new track. If I don't want to have a track anymore, I can right click on it, and over here I can click on remove track. Here it asks me to confirm that I want to remove it. I'll click on yes, and now that track is gone. Over on the track, we have a few more different tools here. Here I could click on this eye icon, and this will disable the track. So that hides it altogether, and you see that my photo here just disappeared. I could toggle it again, and now I reappear. Down below, there's also an option to lock a track. So when I click on lock here, if I come up, I'll no longer be able to select the image of myself because that item is locked. Let's say you have a lot of items within your canvas and you want to make sure you don't disrupt the position of one of your other items. You can lock that track. I'm going to unlock it for now so I can now edit everything. Also, over on the left-hand side, you have a magnet icon, and in a little bit, we'll come back to see what that does. But before we do that, I also want to show how you can adjust the amount of real estate that's dedicated towards the timeline. This will make it a little bit easier to work. Let's say you want your timeline area to appear larger. Over here, I can hover between my canvas and the timeline, and you'll see my cursor icon changes. Here I could drag the space up, or I could drag it down, depending on which one I want to have more real estate. I'll place it here for now. Also, I can zoom in and out on my timeline down below. So here I can expand the horizontal view. So here I could zoom in a little bit, and here I could zoom out if I want to view my entire project. If I hover over the plus icon, here you'll see the associated shortcut key. And also if I hover over the minus icon, here you'll see the shortcut key for zooming out. Over on the left-hand side, I can also zoom in and out on the vertical axis. So here I'll zoom in a little bit and that expands it a little bit, and here I could zoom out. So you could play with these different zoom levels and the real estate to get it in a state that works the best for you. Now that we've looked at how you can adjust the zoom level of the timeline, next I want to show you how you can move throughout your video. Over here on the left-hand side, we see this line that cuts through the timeline. This is referred to as the playhead, and it shows us our current position in the video. So right here you see this line slices through here, and this is the exact frame that we can see. I can click on this playhead and I can scrub through my video. So here I could very easily jump through my video to see what's at this specific frame. Also, when I leave the playhead right at this point, you can also see the exact position where I am. Here I'm at 48 seconds and 14 frames within the video. If I now want to play my video, I can move right up here to the play icon, and when I click on play, it'll start playing right where the playhead is. Red bar that says, and then I can click on pause and that'll pause it again. You'll see as I played, the playhead started moving forward. To the left and to the right of the play icon, I have some additional icons. Here I could jump one frame back. So here you'll see that it moved to 25 frames, and here I could jump to 24 and to 23, and here I could jump forward. Now once again, Camtasia has a very comprehensive set of shortcut keys. As I hover over any one of these icons, you can see what the shortcut key is. Here for example, I'll press period and that jumps me forward one frame. Also, over here at the end, I could jump to the very beginning or I could jump to the very end. So this helps me quickly navigate throughout the timeline. For the shortcut key, I could also press Control Home, that'll shoot me all the way to the beginning, or I can press Control End and that'll bring me all the way to the end. With that now out of the way, let's jump to the fun part. We're gonna start editing this clip. And one thing that'll help us tremendously with editing is using sound. Really? How does sound help us with editing? Well, here if you look down at my clip, you can see these waveforms, and these correspond with me speaking. Here, the horizontal axis is time, and the vertical axis is the loudness of my voice. So right here at this portion, you can see that I wasn't speaking. And then here you see the waveforms pick up again. This aligns with my speech. This will provide good points to cut the video. Over here, you'll see here are points where I paused, and that could be a good cut point. This is a valuable tool that you can use when you're editing your videos. It also reinforces that when you're speaking, you should pause between points. This will provide a natural break where you can then cut your video. I'm now ready to edit my video, and first off, I want to get the playhead to the beginning of the timeline. I'll press the Control and Home key, and that brings the playhead right to the beginning. Now the best way to start editing is to actually go and watch the video and figure out which portions you want to cut. Let me press the spacebar to start playing. I've now clicked on recording and the recording is now active. So right there, that beginning portion, that has nothing to do with how you can order cookies. So I want to cut that out. One of the nice things, you'll see that I also pause for a moment. So in the waveforms, you'll see this gap. This will be a very nice point where I can make a cut. To make a cut, I'll go over and click on my clip, and this highlights it. I can now trim my clip from the beginning or from the very end. Here you'll see when I hover over the beginning of my clip, my cursor changes to the trim icon. Here now I can press and I can pull my clip forward. This is now cutting out the beginning of this clip. One of the neat things is, as I approach the playhead, it'll snap to the playhead. So there I can make a very precise trim right up to this specific point in time. One of the things you'll notice though is I trimmed out my video, but my screen recording still appears there. How can I trim both of them at the same time? Here I'll press Ctrl Z to undo that change. Here I'll move my playhead right back to that gap in the waveforms. Here I could press the Shift key and I could also select the second track. Now I have both of them selected. I can go back to the beginning, and here once again I see the trim icon, and I could pull this forward right up to the playhead, and here I've now trimmed both of these clips. Now let's say that maybe I trimmed too much, and actually I wanted to keep that beginning portion. When I trim a clip, it's non-destructive. Here I can hover over again, and there I see the trim icon. I could pull it back, and that returns the clip to how it originally was. Now I actually wanted to make that edit, so here I'll trim it right back to where it was and right up to the playhead. One of the things you'll see is it leaves this gap behind. I can come up to my media bin and I could insert other content within this space, but maybe I just want to get rid of the gap altogether. I can click over here on one of my tracks and I could drag it in so I can remove the gap. I'm going to undo for now, and I want to show you another way that you can trim a video clip while also simultaneously removing the gap. Here I'm going to undo, so we're right back to where we were at the beginning. Here I can take my mouse and once again I'll hover over the beginning of the clip. So there I see my trim icon. I can now press the Shift key while also trimming, and this will do what's called a ripple edit or a ripple trim. So this will allow me to trim while also simultaneously removing the gap. I'm now going to move the playhead back to the beginning to see if there are any other edits that I want to make. I'll move this to the beginning and I'll press spacebar to start playing. I don't know why people have so much trouble ordering cookies at the Kevin Cookie Company. It's actually a pretty straightforward process. Right here, there is a gap in the waveform, and here I want to split these clips. Right up here, I have access to the split tool, and it'll do exactly what the name implies. It'll split these clips. I currently have both of these clips selected, so when I go up here and click on this tool, it'll split both of them. Right here, you'll see that it inserted a split right here. Now, if I move over here, and let's say I just had one clip selected, and then I clicked on split, well, that would only split that one clip. Let's say that I don't want to have to come through and select all of these different tracks or clips that I want to split. I could also use a shortcut key to automatically just split all of them. I can press Ctrl, Shift, and S, and that'll simply slice all the clips right where the playhead is. Now that I've split these clips many times, I want to remove this section right here. I can come in and I could highlight this clip. Let me highlight this one, and I'll press the Delete key. And right now that's removed all of those different sections. However, I have this large gap right here. How do I remove this? Well, once again, I could select this and I could drag it forward. Alternatively, I want to show you another tool that you can use to remove all of the gaps. Over here on the left-hand side, you have this magnet icon. When I click on that, that'll remove all of the gaps from this track, regardless of where they are. Down below, here I see that I still have these clips right here that I split, but I haven't removed these yet. I want to show you another way that you can simply delete these and apply a ripple delete. Here I'll select both of these clips right here, and this time instead of just hitting the delete key, I'll press the Control backspace key. That'll remove those two clips and it applies a ripple delete. I'll go back up here and I'll click on the magnet to toggle that back off. Here I'll move the playhead back to the beginning once again, and let's watch this video again to see if there's anything else worth cutting out. All right, well, I should probably pull together this video now. To order cookies, so the video doesn't really start until right at about this point. So I also want to delete this portion right here. We have lots of different tools that we can use to delete this. We could trim, I could split, but I want to show you one more that we can use. Right here at the very top of the playhead, we have this green rectangle and there's also a red rectangle. Here I could select the green portion of it and I could set the start point. So I'll drag it right all the way over to the left-hand side. Now I could come in and select the red one and I could choose a point here, but I want to leave it right here. So I'll select this portion of my timeline. Now that I have this area selected, I could play it again if I wanted to by pressing the spacebar, but I want to remove this section right here. So I'll press the Control and Backspace key and that'll remove that selection. So that's yet one more way I can also make edits to my timeline. That should now give you a good sense of how you can edit your clips down on the timeline below. Let's continue playing the video to see if maybe there are some animations or cursor effects or other tools that we want to use to enhance this video. I'll click on the spacebar once again to start playing and let's see what else we want to change. To order cookies from the Kevin Cookie Company, head to the website kevincookie.com. Right at this portion, I tell people to check out the kevincookie.com, and my mouse cursor points up here at the URL. Now, I think it would be really nice if I also zoomed in on that part of my screen when I call out the Kevin Cookie Company, and then once I'm done talking about it, at that point, I'll zoom back out. For this, I'm going to use the animation tools. I'll click on this and here I see two different categories of tools. I can do a zoom and pan, or I could apply different animations, and there are several different animations that I can choose from. Now, I want to use a zoom and pan. So right here, I'm going to adjust this so it zooms in right on the address bar. And here I can see a preview of what that'll look like. So that looks pretty good. Down below on my timeline, I can zoom in here. You'll notice that it added this arrow, and this represents zooming in. You'll see a small circle with an arrow pointing at a larger circle. This indicates that it zooms in. Now let me make sure that the zoom is right at the right point. Here I'll come back and it looks like my mouse starts to point up at the address bar right at about this point. Here I'll select the arrow and I'll move it back right to where my playhead is. And I'll do the same for the screen recording as well. Now let's play it back and let's see what this looks like. Cookie Company, head to the website kevincookie.com. Once you land on, and then at this point I say once you land on this website, so we're no longer focused on the URL. So at this point I want to zoom out again. I'll place the playhead right here and I'll come over and click on Scale to Fit. Here again, you'll see this animation shows that we now go back to the original state. So let's play this to see what it looks like. Company.com. Once you land on the home, and I think that works pretty well. That's a very nice zoom in and zoom out on the screen, and that supports what I'm saying as part of my talk track. As I run through this tutorial, I use my cursor to point at different things on the screen, and I want to make sure that my audience is able to follow along. Over on the left-hand side, I have another set of tools called cursor effects. And when I click on this, I can apply highlighting to my mouse cursor. Here, I'll select this one right here. I think that looks good. And now I can drag it down to my timeline and I'll place it on my screen recording. Here, I'll release it and you see that my mouse cursor is now highlighted. Also, over on the right-hand side, I have all of these different properties that I can adjust. If you don't initially see this pane on the right-hand side, you can click on this button that says Properties, and that'll expose this pane. Right here, I can set the color, the opacity, the size, the softness. I have all of these different settings available to me. Within cursor effects, let's say I want to highlight my left click or maybe my right click. I have all of these other settings as well. And just like we did for the cursor highlighter, let's select this one called rings. I'll drag and drop it down here, and here I see that the effect has been added. Now that I've added the effect, once again, over on the right-hand side in the properties pane, here I can see the rings effect, and I could also adjust the settings for this. I can add any number of different effects and it'll simply stack them within this area. So I could go through and edit any one of these. Now you might be wondering, well, what if I want to go back and edit the properties for the sound or maybe the video? Up above, I have these different tabs. Here I could jump to the audio tab, and here I could jump to the video tab. So depending on the properties I want to edit, I could very quickly navigate to that pane. As I'm adding my different effects, I can also view the effects down below on the timeline. Here, I'll click here to zoom out. Here now on this track, you'll see that there's this caret icon pointing up. If I click here, I can view all of my different effects. Here I see that I have highlighting right here. And when I click on this, it'll show me the properties specific to highlighting. I could also click on rings, and this will show me those specific properties. Now with the rings, this only takes effect when I click. Here on the timeline, you can see each time I click indicated by one of these circles. I'll move forward here and let's play it to see what the rings look like. Some of the many different types. There you can see a sample of the ring. So this indicates a click in the video. Now that we've looked at how we can add some different cursor effects, next I want to show you how we can add an annotation. Here I'm going to minimize the different effects that I've applied to this track, and if I scrub forward in my video right before I click on the Order Now button, I want to make sure that people really notice this discount code here best. I want to make sure that people use it when they order their cookies. They're going to get a $1 discount. That's a good deal. I want to make sure they don't miss that. So maybe right about here, right before I click on Order Now, let me insert an annotation. Over on the left-hand side, I'll click into Annotations, and here I see all sorts of different annotations that I can insert. You have your standard callouts, you could insert arrows, shapes, you could also blur, highlight, add sketch motion. These will draw out as the video is playing, and you can even show the keystrokes that you're playing. Now I just want to insert a basic annotation, so I'll select this one right here. This green one looks nice, and to insert an annotation, I could simply click on that and drag it onto my canvas. So I'll place it right here. To insert text, I could simply double click and then I can type in my text. I've now inserted some text reminding people to use the promo code. Here I'll click over to the side and now I can reposition this call out. I'll place it so it appears that it's coming from me right down here. Now, as I use this call out, I really like the way this call out looks. And let's say that I want to use it again in the future. When I come over here within the annotations and I hover over one of these, you can see in the top right-hand corner, there's a star icon. When I click on this, this will add it to my favorites folder over on the left-hand side. Here I could click on favorites and here you'll see my call out. So let's say there are certain annotations that you use all the time, or maybe certain shapes you use all the time. You can add them to your favorites for quick access in the future. With my annotation, one thing you'll notice is that when I play it, and you won't miss it, it just all of a sudden appears on top of my canvas. I want it to be a little bit of a smoother transition. Over on the left-hand side, I have all of my different transition tools. And in Camtasia 2021, there are many new different transitions that you can choose from. There is a wide variety here. There are lots of ones, and you could come through here, and as you hover your mouse over, you can preview what this transition looks like. So once again, there are lots of cool ones here. Now I want to add a very basic transition. Here I can select one of my transitions, and as I pull it down, you'll notice on my timeline, my different clips highlight at the beginning and also at the end. This indicates where I can insert this transition. So here I could place a transition here at the beginning or at the end. And if I hover over the middle, it'll place it at both the beginning and at the end. Now I want to make this annotation come in a little bit more smoothly. I could also insert a transition on my annotation. Here I'll bring it over and let me place it so it appears at both the beginning and at the end. Now that I've inserted my transition, let's go back and see what this looks like. I'll hit play right here. Page, and you won't miss it. There's this big red. That's looking a lot better now. I like how it smoothly transitions in. With the transition, if let's say I want to change how quickly or how slowly it comes in, here I can hover my mouse over the transition and here you see my icon changes. Here I could drag it so maybe it's a little bit shorter. By default, it takes about 1 second for the transition. Maybe I'll drag it in so it's about half a second or about 15 frames. And here I could do the same for the transition at the end. Now let's say that every time I insert a transition, I only want it to take half a second. So I don't like the default of just 1 second for a transition. I can come up here to the edit menu. I can go down to preferences, and under timing, I can change any of the default durations. So right down here with transitions, I could change it to half a second if I want to. Once I'm done with my changes, I'll click on OK. Now, I really like this new transition that I added to my annotation, but once it comes up, the annotation just kind of sits there. I want to liven it up a little bit more. Over on the left-hand side, there's another tool called Behaviors. And here you can see an example of some of the different behaviors that you can apply. You could apply this to text, or you can apply it to shapes or different items on your canvas. Here, I'll select the one called Drifting, and I'll drag it down and place it on my annotation. I could select multiple different behaviors and apply it to different items on my timeline. Here, I'll go back and let's play again to see how this livens things up. And you won't miss it. There's this big red bar that says Order Now. Let's click on that. All right, I like that even more. Not only do I have a transition, but I also applied this behavior so it has a little bit more of a pop. My video is really starting to come together now, and I think this will be a great resource for people who want to order cookies. But I think at the very beginning of my video, I just kind of jump into it. I think it'd be nice to have maybe a little intro that let people know what this video is about. On the left-hand side, there's a tool called Library. And when I click on Library, I have all of these different assets that I can leverage in my video. For example, I could use different icons in my video. I could use different intros, and in a moment I'll select intros. You could insert lower thirds onto your video. Maybe you want to list out your name as part of the lower third. They have motion backgrounds, different music tracks, and even outros that you can use. Now I want to insert an intro in this video, so let's open up intros and see some of the different options. Here are many different options. Let me click on this one called Line Wipe. That looks interesting. I'll double click on that, and here I can view a preview of what this looks like. Now this looks pretty good, so let me use this. I'll close the preview, and then I'll drag this item from the library down onto my timeline. I'll place it right here. I've now inserted my intro, and the really nice thing about these different library items is over here I can update the properties. So I could type in a title, a subtitle, my website, and it'll automatically insert it into this intro. Let me go through and add some of my items. I've added a whole bunch of text for the Kevin Cookie Company. I could also go through if I wanted to, and I could update the colors. I could update some of the shapes here. So I can customize what this intro looks like. So I could produce something that looks very professional with very little effort. Now here you see my intro will play, and right now it's sitting over my clip with my instruction. I'm going to select these other files on my timeline, and I'll pull them back so they don't overlap with the intro. Now that I've inserted my intro at the very beginning, I also want to make sure I include my outro. And up here in the media bin, I have a video file that we use at the end of every single video that we pull together for the Kevin Cookie Company. Here I'll select my video file and I'll place it at the very end right there. Now, one of the things is I use this in every single video, and it's kind of a pain to always have to insert it into my media bin. I can also include this as part of the library. Here I'll come over to my video file, and I could right click on it, and I could go to Add to Library. When I add it to the library, I could choose where I want to place it. I'll put it in the default location and then click on OK. Over here now in my library, I see my end logo here. So now anytime I work on a project, I can very easily access this file and insert it. I no longer have to remember to bring it into my media bin. The video project is really coming together nicely, and next I want to add a little bit of music to this. Right now you just hear me speaking, and it might make it a little bit more exciting to have a song in the background. Right up in the media bin, I've already included a song here, so I'll select this and I'll pull it down onto my timeline. Right here I'll place it down here, and then I'll create a new track. Let me play it to see how this fits in. What I recommend doing is scroll down. Now, as I'm playing this, you can't really hear my speech because the music is just a little bit too loud. Right here, when I have my music track selected, you'll see this green line. I can adjust the gain of this audio track. So here I can pull it down, and let me make it a little bit quieter. Maybe we'll go with about maybe 24% of the volume. So here, let's play it to see what this sounds like. Page, and you'll see photos of some of the many different Now that's sounding pretty good. I think that's pretty nice. And once again, you can easily adjust the volume levels for any track with sound on it. As I'm working on audio, I also have access to several different audio effects. Over here on the left-hand side, I'll click on audio effects. Here you could apply compression, you could adjust the clip speed, you could emphasize, you could fade in, fade out, and you could remove background noise. So you have a few different tools at your disposal that you can use to improve the audio in your video. At the very end of my video, I tell people to submit this order form, but I don't actually go into detail on how you submit it. So I could probably go back and make some additional edits to my video where I give a little bit more detail there. So I want to make sure I remember to do that. Over on the left-hand side, I can click on this downward arrow, and here I could insert different types of items. I could insert a quiz or a marker. For now, I'm going to insert a marker. So I have marker selected, and I could come in here on the timeline, and here I'll click to insert a marker. Right now I have marker 1, and I'll type in some text. I typed in provide additional information. So this will serve as a reminder for myself that I need to come in here and add some additional context. Now with this marker, I could also place a marker on the actual clip itself. Here I could click on a clip and that inserts a marker on the clip, or here once again, I could place another one on the timeline. Now, if I want to delete any of these markers, I could simply select the marker, hit backspace, and that'll remove it. Here, I'll remove that one as well. Now, I do want to remember to provide additional information on how to submit the order form, so I'll leave this marker in place. This video now is really starting to come together, and I think we're getting close to wrapping up on it. Here at the very end, I have our outro logo that plays, and here I'll just play it so we can see what this looks like. Now that's pretty cool, but I kind of want to try a visual effect. Over on the left-hand side, once again with all of my tools, I'll click on visual effects. I could apply all of these different visual effects to my different video clips on the timeline. And if I look through this here, I have a bunch of different options, but this one here with device frame looks interesting. Just like we did before with the different transitions and the behaviors, I simply select this visual effect, and once again, I can drag it onto my timeline. I'll place it on my outro right here. And look at that, it's placed it in this device frame. So now when I play the outro, look at that, it'll play this clip within the device frame. That looks pretty cool, I like that. We're now getting close to the end of this video, but I do want to call out some other tools that you have available, but we're not going to dig into them deeply today. Over here on the left-hand side, there's another tool called voice narration. Here you can play your video and then you can narrate on top of it. It'll take your narration and it'll overlay it on top of the video. When I click on more, there's also an interactivity tool. You can add a quiz to your video so you can check your viewers' understanding. When I click on more as well, you can also add captions to your video. One of the new things in Camtasia 2021 is you now also have the option to add proxy files. As I've been working through on this video, my computer's been able to handle it fairly well. However, maybe you're working with 4K video and maybe your computer's a little bit sluggish. Here you can come over one of your video files, you can right click on it, and then there's the option to create a proxy video. What is a proxy video? Well, it's basically a lower resolution version of that video clip that you use purely for editing. Once you render your video, it'll rely on the original and high quality version. This makes it a little bit easier to work with your project and to edit video files. Okay, so we've looked at most of the core functionality of Camtasia, and you should now have a very good understanding of how you can create a project and how you can go through and edit your project. Now let's look at how you can render your project and distribute it. Within Camtasia, in the top right-hand corner, you'll see a button for export. When we click on this, this opens up a menu. So depending on where you want to export it, there are all of these preset options. Let's say you want to upload it to Google Drive. You can upload it directly to Google Drive. Or let's say you want to upload it to YouTube. You can select YouTube right here. It'll render the video and then it'll upload it on your behalf. Now, I just want to keep things simple and I want to export as an MP4 file on my computer. So I'll select local file. This opens up a prompt where I can go through this wizard to produce my video. When I click on this dropdown, once again, I can see many of the different options. I could also have it create a smart player for me, but once again, I just want to leave things simple. I'll go with MP4 only, and I'll do it at 1080p. This all looks good, so I'll click on next. Here I can choose what I want to name my file, where I want to save it, and all of this looks good, so I'll click on Finish. This will now go through and render my video. And it looks like my video has finished rendering. This looks good, so let's preview the video to see what it looks like. To order cookies from the Kevin Cookie Company, head to the website kevincookie.com. Once you land on the homepage and before you click to order cookies, one thing I recommend doing is scroll down the page and you'll see photos of some of the many different types of cookies you can order. Also, as an aside, when you look at these pictures, we've also found that you end up ordering more cookies after looking at these. Once you're ready to order your cookies, go to the very top of the page and you won't miss it. There's this big red bar that says Order Now. Let's click on that. This opens up an order form that you can fill out to order cookies. Right here, you can enter in your name. You can type in the cookie type you want to order and also the quantity. Hopefully this box is big enough to fit the number of cookies that you want to order. You could choose your preferred delivery method. We support pigeon delivery, pneumatic tubes, as well as drone delivery, your choice. You could also put down a desired delivery date. Don't put down tomorrow, that's going to stress out the kitchen staff. You could also indicate how you heard about us. Please put down the Kevin Stratvert YouTube channel. This way my manager continues funding these tutorial videos. And down below, sign your name to agree with these terms. Now, I'm assuming you know how to submit the form, so I won't cover that in this video. All right, well that's how you can use Camtasia. If this video helped you, please give it a thumbs up. To see more videos like this in the future, please consider subscribing. Also, if you want to see me cover any other topics on this channel, leave a note down below. All right, well that's all I had for you today. I hope you enjoyed, and as always, I hope to see you next time. Bye.